Hi everybody, my name is Briceño. I'm a physics professor at Old Dominion University. I'm also a staff scientist in a national lab here in Virginia called Jefferson Lab. Last year, along with some colleagues of mine at ODU and Jefferson Lab, we co-created a program called Remote Experience for Young Engineers and Scientists, which for short I'll be referring to as REYES. Today I want to tell you a little bit about this program. REYES is essentially a pipeline we're trying to build a pipeline that is trying to connect the person that you are today with the person that you will be in the future. If you think about the person that you want to be 10 years down the line, I'm sure there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of uncertainties, even if you think you know what you want to study. And what we want to do is try to help you figure out this pathway for you. And so we want to give you a sense of the existing opportunities that are already present in different fields, in the sciences, in engineering, in technology, and the health sciences, etc. That way, you are a little bit more informed, so you can figure out which careers you may enjoy, which ones perhaps best match your skill sets, and perhaps those that you just don't love, right? Sometimes we need to learn what we don't like so that we can start narrowing things down and to eventually figure out what we like. We also want to possibly connect you with mentors who are already working in the possible fields that you're interested in. And they can perhaps guide you, give you insight. You can see what the life of a scientist really is. And along the way, we hope to train you to solve problems. These are going to be problems that are scientific in nature, but the skill sets are going to be universally useful. When we're imagining the future, it's kind of hard to predict how we may go from one point to another. This was certainly the case for me. And so I figured I would tell you a little bit about my story so that you get to know me a little bit and you get to learn what was my random path into the sciences. Although I live in the United States, I'm not originally from the United States. I'm originally from Venezuela. In fact, I'm from the capital of Venezuela, which is called Caracas. Venezuela is a country which is in South America. In the last 20 years, the Venezuelan economy has been struggling, and millions of Venezuelans have been fleeing to other countries seeking opportunity. My family includes some of those Venezuelans, as many others that have left. I first moved to Florida in 2000. I did my undergrad in physics there. I then eventually go to Seattle. There I got a PhD in theoretical nuclear physics. And eventually I came to Virginia to work at Jefferson Lab. After some time, I then started to work not just at the lab, but also at the university. Needless to say, when I was in high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I had a vague idea that physics sounded cool, the sciences sounded cool, but I didn't really know any scientists. I didn't know what people in physics and math, chemistry, what their life looked like every day. And so it was very uncertain. I had no idea, what it would take to make it. And fortunately, each step along the way, I got to have some wonderful mentors that really held my hand through different difficult stages. And, I was able to make my path all the way to where I am. And so what we want to do is try to make your path slightly less bumpy so that you can go have a much more smooth sailing and be able to actually pursue, your dreams, whatever they may be. What I want to now tell you is a little bit about the things that drew me into the sciences. I'm going to tell you about the sciences in general, but I figured I would tell you at first what is the things that excite me the most. The sciences are broad in scope. There's just basically a field for everything that we see in nature. The things that get me excited are really the big questions. What are we? Where did we come from? How did we get created? And what is the stuff that we're made out of? These were really the questions that drew me into the field in the first place, and the things that still get me excited. And I think the most beautiful answer out there is by Carl Sagan. If you've never heard of Carl Sagan, you really need to do yourself justice and just Google Carl Sagan. And his answer was fairly succinct as to what we're made out of. He said that we are made of star stuff, meaning we are made out of stuff that comes out of stars. And this is, it's a weird answer, but it's actually not wrong. It's absolutely true. And so what did he mean? He meant that the stuff that we're made out of was made in stars. And the stuff that we're made out of actually has been made in different exotic parts and times of the universe. So here what I'm showing you is a timeline of the universe. So the universe, the time is flowing from here all the way to the present. So this is the first instant of the universe. And what you're seeing here is the depiction of the Big Bang. So you're seeing like a big explosion. So what is the Big Bang? The Big Bang was the first instances of the universe. The universe was a hot, dense clump of stuff, and it was just very hot. And then it just exploded in the very first instances at a really rapid rates, and it started to grow and grow and grow. And so the Big Bang is that instant. And that instant, this hot soup of stuff started to combine into the protons and neutrons that then started to combine into our atomic nuclei. And these started to then plant seeds into what eventually would become stars and galaxies, and they start to combine. Our protons and neutrons were created in the first instance of the universe. These protons and neutrons start to combine and fuse together to form helium, carbon, and oxygen, the stuff that makes up life. These combinations take place in the evolutions of stars. This is the fuel that keeps the stars emitting light. So in fact, by the combination of protons and neutrons to come together to form more heavy nuclei, they emit light, and it is this light that we see that keeps the Earth warm, that keeps us alive. But also it starts to make up the components of nature. This is what Carl Sagan meant by we're made out of star stuff. Our building blocks, our atoms and molecules, they're made in stars. So these are the kinds of questions that intrigue me, the kinds of questions that drive my research, and the things that drive my everyday life. But science, it's not just school. It's not just giving us answers to exotic questions that may have no everyday applicability, right? Science is absolutely critical and essential in driving our economy. And furthermore, it's essential in saving lives. And the best example of this is the one that we're all experiencing right now. This past year, I know it's been challenging for everybody, and we have been dealing with a pandemic. But the solution to the pandemic that we are all experiencing right now comes from science. It's namely vaccines. Without tremendous amount of work from thousands and thousands of scientists through the centuries, we wouldn't be gotten to the point where we can develop vaccines in such a rapid rate and be able to distribute them so incredibly fast. So science is just remarkably crucial in how we, in how we run our economy and dealing with tremendous challenges like the pandemic as well as global warming. And so the sciences are just at the core of our everyday humanity. With this, what we want to do is try to help you to become a doer. At this point, you've learned quite a bit of the background of the sciences from your classes, right? I'm sure you've learned about the scientific method. In your classes in math, you've been learning a little bit about algebra, maybe a little bit of trigonometry. And now we want to grab these tools that you've gathered and start applying them into real life. And so we don't want to just give you more insight. We actually want to get you to practice the sciences, because ultimately the sciences are about doing things, producing results, testing those results, and learning from the process. And so this is where the REYES programs comes in. The REYES program is a virtual program. Okay, so that means that it's all online. And this allows us to make it accessible to those of you that are stuck at home for whatever reason, but also people that are not just nearby to us. So anybody around the world can access it. Last year alone, we hosted over 80 different activities where experts came and gave us talks, but also we had classes and panels, and everything is hosted live. But also we record it and make it freely available to anybody that wants to participate. And so what I want to tell you a little bit is just give you a glimpse of the kinds of experts that are going to come and talk. So we've had talks from folks at Berkeley, in CERN, which is a nuclear physics lab out in Europe. This year we're gonna have some talks from experts from MIT, of course Jefferson Lab, NASA, from the Space Agency in Mexico, and of course also ODU. Here are just some of the speakers that we have lined up for this summer. You're gonna hear talks from James E. West. If you haven't heard of him, he's in fact the co-creator of the modern day microphone. Fernando Perez, who is a professor at University of Berkeley out in California. He's a software developer in a programming language called Python, which is one of the tools that we teach you how to use. You're going to hear from Francesca Gallo, who's a scientist at NASA, as well as Simon Clark, who is an atmospheric physicist, but he's also a YouTuber. So he has more than 300,000 followers, and he makes videos to try to teach you about different types of sciences. So he's a quite fun person, and you're going to hear from many others. The topics that you will learn about are vast, so there's many of them. You learn about the science of insects, which is called entomology. You will hear lots about artificial intelligence and machine learning, which is a very hot topic these days. You're going to learn about drones, as well as many other concepts. And so to give you a taste of the kinds of talks that you will be hearing about, I figured I would show you a little video from a talk that we had in the fall. It is a talk by Dr. Ellen Ochoa. She was a NASA astronaut, and this is just a little bit of a taste of her talk last year. So let me just play that for you.
So this was back in 2002, and that's the Space Shuttle Atlantis on the pad at Kennedy Space Center, and this is my crew. We had a crew of 7 walking out to get out to the launch pad. Here's the main engines, which are firing up. They use liquid fuel, and once they're up at 100%, the solid rockets light off, and that's when you actually leave the launch pad with about 7 million pounds of thrust. And those solid rockets run pretty rough, so you can see some of the vibration here. I'm kind of the center one in that cockpit.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but when I see that clip and she mentions the rockets being a little bumpy, it just makes me amazed that people can do that, right? I mean, so you're gonna be hearing about talks of this sort. In fact, we have another astronaut lined up this year. As I said, one of the things that we want to do is make you be doers. We want to train you to do things so that you can start developing skills that you probably don't have right now, and then start applying them into research. Okay, and I don't mean down the line. I mean, this summer, start doing research perhaps this summer or in the fall. And so we have 3 sets of classes lined up for you. One of them is called Python for STEM, which I'll tell you about in a second, where we teach you a programming language called Python, which is one of the most popular language for scientific computing these days. The second class is called Fundamentals of Engineering, and as the name suggests, you're going to be learning a little bit about the different fundamentals of different fields in engineering. The third one is actually going to be quite fun, which is a class called Musical Flow STEM, where you're going to be learning how to use computers to make your own music, develop beats, and try to splice them together to make music. And so that's going to be quite a lot of fun. And in fact, you're going to be using, for part of that class, the same programming language that we'll be teaching you in Python for STEM, namely Python. And so here I figured I would take a little second and do a little demo for you, just to teach you the kinds of things, just to show you the kinds of things that we'll be teaching in Python for STEM. And so what I would ask you is to go to a website called repl.it. So let's click on it. Boom. And so after a couple of clicks, I'm going to skip ahead. You're going to see a screen like this. You're going to see a screen like this. You can make a new REPL, okay? Let's make it, you can make it in different languages. The language that we're teaching is Python, so click on that. Great. And then you say create REPL, okay? In some of the school, if you're using your school laptop, you might not be able to have access to this immediately. If that's the case, we'll try to work with your schools to be able to give you access to this website. So this is an easy way for you to start coding without having to download anything. And so it's incredibly easy. In our class, we actually teach you how to download software so that you don't have to use the internet when you're coding, although the internet is always helpful. Okay, so the next thing that I have in my little demo is that in fact I have some code to show you how to do this. So I'm going to skip ahead. Boop, boop, boop. And here's a little code. And what we want to do is create a figure kind of like this, okay? Just a simple figure, just to show you the power that, that programming has, which is you can tell it to do something and then immediately you see the results, and it allows you to test your intuition as you go ahead, okay? And so what this little simple program that I've written here, what it does is that it imports what is called a library. So a library is, it's just another already existing code that has a bunch of functions that are already defined. What is a function, you say? Well, a function is, it returns to you a number if you give it a number. So let me just rewrite the key points here. So I'm going to say import numpy. Okay, so here what I did is I skipped ahead a little bit. So let's recap what I just wrote. I imported numpy as np. I imported matplotlib.pyplot as plt. These are just some libraries which have some functions built in. That's okay. Then I created this list, which is in a function called arange. That's okay, whatever. What it does is that it creates a list of numbers going from 0 to 2 in steps of 0.2. So it gives me back a list with 0 first, and then 0.1, and then 0.2, and then 0.3, all the way to 2, okay? Next, I'm going to plot x versus x squared. And I'm going to plot it in a color which I chose to be red. Great. Then I'm going to plot x versus x in blue. Okay? And the last line is telling pyplot to show the plot. Okay? And so what I'm expecting to see is a line of x squared versus x. Okay? So it's going to make an x squared in red. So it's going to look like a parabola. And then the other one is just going to create x versus x, which is should just give me a straight line, and it's going to be in blue. Okay. Now we get to run it and see what shows, what appears. Okay. So let's run it. Whoop. And then is this going to work? Yeah, it worked. All right, great. I need to zoom out. There we go. And so as I promised, right, I have a x versus x line, which is just a straight line in blue. Boop. And then I have x squared versus x in red. So it is x squared. And so if you think about at 1. So here's 1, okay? This red line should give me back 1 squared, which is 1. Perfect. Look, it gives me back 1. Great. The blue line at x equals 1, it should give me back x, which is also equal to 1. So that's great. All right, great. So that's a little introduction into Python, which is just a beautiful language. It's very easy to use. It's quick. And we can do really powerful things with it. And so in our class, we're going to be teaching how to do plots like this and many more, while we'll be introducing you to concepts both in algebra, a little bit of calculus. You're going to learn about how infectious diseases are being modeled. You're going to learn a bit about particle physics, data analysis, many different things. And so if all these words mean nothing to you, that's okay. This class is designed for you, okay? So that was my little demo. What I mentioned to you a little bit ago, I said that we want to get you into research today, not in the future. You might say, okay, but I'm just a high school student. How could I possibly do research? Well, in fact, I already have evidence showing that this works. We have, in the last couple of years, I've been mentoring several high school students. And very recently, last year, in fact, I wrote a paper with a high school student who's in Maury High. The student came with us. He participated in this class, Python for STEM, 2 years ago. He learned all the basic tools that he needed to start doing research. And then after a year and a half of hard work, we wrote a paper and have submitted to a journal. And so this is the kinds of things that you can start doing today. You can start working with researchers and participating in research, and perhaps that could then lead to some publication down the line. So you can start becoming a researcher at any point with the right mentorship. And one of the amazing things from last year, from people that participated in the REYES program, was that more than 70% of the people that participated in this program, which were thousands of participants from across the world, more than 70% of them said that they felt more confident and enthusiastic about pursuing a career in STEM, meaning in science, technology, engineering, and math, as well as conducting research, okay? And so if right now you're not, it's not really clear to you that you could perhaps participate in the sciences, well, there's at least there's some approximate 70% probability that you feel that much more confident later on. And so I think this is a great opportunity for you, and hopefully you believe so as well. And so what I like to encourage you to do is to go to our website right now, which is odu.edu/REYES. Okay, I'll say that again, odu.edu/REYES. In there, you will see information on how to register to the program. The registration is absolutely free. This is no cost for you. So there's really no reason, there's no cost for you to even just trying it out, okay? So once you register, you start receiving emails informing you how you can get involved and when the sessions are and how you can view our content and engage with other scientists. So go ahead and go to our main website and register. You can also go to YouTube and find all the videos that have been recorded from previous sessions. They're all available for free for you. And so feel free to go ahead and subscribe to that too, so you can get content that you perhaps have missed in the past. And also you'll be able to see the live streaming there, or just join the Zoom links, which will be made available to those that register. Like I said, it's all free, so you have nothing to lose. And so go ahead and register and help us get you to where you want to be 10 years down the line. All right, thank you so much.